Called racist is not something I've ever been called in my life, and it's a little disheartening because, like I said, where I'm from, it's just not a thing.
Because America never actually banned slavery. We thought we did, but we didn't. If you actually read the wording, it's right here. It says, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime wherever or whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist with the United States. So it says, because these are commas, basically might as well be parentheses, but it says, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude shall exist within the U.S.
Want to hear about some of my favorite things to do? This is going to piss you off. This is so much fun. So, and it's early in the morning or late at night. Oh, these are my favorite. When you're driving and you're coming at me, and you know, we pass each other like such, I like to hit my brakes. Yeah, especially early in the morning when you're running late to work, you're speeding, you know you're speeding, I caught you speeding. I just like to hit my brakes. Get the blood flowing, you know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about. Really, I'm helping you out if you think about it. Getting your blood flowing, getting you ready for work. I just like to hit my brakes. Scare you a little. Also, when I'm sitting and I'm running speed traffic, and I gotta go somewhere else, if I want to go to the gas station or grab a snacky or something, I'll wait. I'll wait till you come by. I don't care how far you're back. If you're 2 miles back, I'm waiting on you. And then as soon as you pass me, I'm gonna pull out. That's what I'm gonna do. Yeah.
This dumb motherfucker was about 30 seconds away from absolutely just tripping up and saying, and I love to pull people over because they're black. I guarantee this is what's on your street. These are the brain dead children fucking patrolling your street.
Hello lovelies, welcome back to today's episode. This time around, when you see how white people, they are trying to run their issue in the hard way, you have seen a lot of black people came out to say, what you are doing to us is not good. We've been passing through a lot, but you never care to understand our voices. This time around, let's get to hear them very well the way they are trying to explain that American slavery has never stopped. We are keep seeing a lot of things hidden in a slavery in a modern way, because it has never been anywhere we have seen black Americans have peace on this land of America till date. Guys, let's dive into today's episode. Drop your opinion in the comment section, then we'll come back with more commentaries.
Called racist is not something I've ever been called in my life, and it's a little disheartening because, like I said, where I'm from, it's just not a thing. You know.
Gotta stop you right there, Deputy Crow. Before I jump into this, I'm gonna explain to you what you just said. You've never been called that, and where you're from, it's not a thing. It's not a thing for you where you're from. You can look through this playlist for a video called Decentering, and that might help. We can come back to that if we need. The reason we're here today is you made a list of ways you like to mess with civilians while you're doing your job as a public servant.
This is gonna piss you off. It's so much fun. You know, we pass each other like such. I like to hit my brakes. Get the blood flowing, you know what I'm talking about? Really, I'm helping you out if you think about it. Figured I'd let you in on a couple of fun things that I like to do. Are we just fucking with you?
Also, it was really gross that later on, after you took the videos down, you said, I took the videos down personally, they didn't win.
No, I didn't get fired. No, they didn't win.
So let's talk about the history of your job. You chose this job, and in America there are 700 to 800,000 people who do that job every day. Ish. Hard to keep track, you guys won't hold still when we count. Now that being said, I'm sure there are dozens of good ones. You probably think you're one of the good ones, don't you? Let's just jump back in time to what your job originated as, okay? In 1865-ish, again, America's real lax with this kind of history and dates, so. Your job used to either be patrols or catchers. That was your job. Ultimately, it morphed into what you do today as a living. Here's what some of those responsibilities were. Your job was to capture runaways, to prevent revolts, to enforce laws restricting enslaved people's movements. That is what your job was at its core when it started. It didn't even have the title that it has today until around 1838 in Boston, where the very first change happened, let's call it. It was modeled after the British system, which really just started a few years earlier in 1829. This was really the change from it being volunteer and informal to publicly funded and organized. 1845 rolls around, New York gets their first one. 1851 rolls around, Chicago gets its first PD. Probably notice there's some in-between time between 1865 and 1838, right? So it didn't become this role until 1865. This was really the start of the formality in 1838, but there was some lead time in between there where it started to kind of take shape. Things take time. Let's blow past that to 1865, where we get what's called Black codes starting. During what's called the Reconstruction era, it was your job to enforce these black codes. You might be wondering what a black code is. Don't worry, I had time. A couple examples were curfews. It was your job to enforce curfews, specifically for black people, hence the name. Also, yearly labor contracts. African Americans were often required to sign yearly labor contracts to white landowners or their employers. If they refused or failed to fulfill the contract, they would be fined or forced into unpaid labor. It was also the job to prohibit occupations of certain types for certain people. Again, we're talking about black codes specifically. I'll let you guess what people we're talking about. It was your job to prevent land ownership, specifically limits to land ownership that people could have if they were African American. Vagrancy was another thing. It was your job to enforce vagrancy. This one here is called apprenticeship, and it might be the most sinister. African American children who became orphans were forced into labor. It was their job to go to work, and it was your job to enforce that. Fast forward to the mid-1800s, we move to what's called Jim Crow era, where you enforce more things. It's your job to enforce the suppression of boating. Speaking of that, make sure you go to this website here and make sure your boating registration is still active. It's also your job to suppress civil rights protests. Hear that. It was your job to stop people from trying to get rights that are civil rights. It was your job to stop that. I know, you're one of the good ones, I heard. One more of the things was racial etiquette. It was your job to enforce people to yield to whites on the sidewalk and to address white people with proper deference. I had to look up what deference means. You ready? It is to speak to someone with humble submission and respect. Now, all of that being said, if you can't see why messing with people is so far away from the necessities of your role or the need as a person who is white to correct the actions of other whites, specifically these because it's the job you chose, then I don't know what to tell you, man. You don't seem empathetic in your responses. That's why I DM'd you and told you to turn your comments on. You read it, you didn't. You don't seem sincere in your apology because, again, you said,
No, they didn't win.
and I know Massac County is aware of your actions. I don't know why people keep getting this job and not taking it with all sincerity. You have one of the only jobs where you can do what you just did online and on social media and then still retain employment with that employer. Somebody talks crazy to a customer at McDonald's, they're getting unemployed. Yet you still get to keep your job after not only that video, but making multiple previous videos talking about different interactions you've had with civilians. You need to do better. That's the honest ending to this. You just need to do better. You have extremely problematic responses, you have knee-jerk actions and sentences, which tells me that you're not fully equipped to do the role which you chose. The role that you chose.
So this guy is telling basically how cops started in America as slave patrols and slave catchers, and how, you know, it's different now and this, that, and the other. But my argument would be actually that cops never stopped slavery or slave patrols. They're on slave patrols currently right now. They're doing it every fucking day because America never actually banned slavery. We thought we did, but we didn't. If you actually read the wording, it's right here. It says, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime wherever or whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States. So it says, because these are commas, basically might as well be parentheses, but it says, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude shall exist within the U.S. Except, so that just erases everything. Everything you just said. There shall not be any slavery in America, except as a punishment for crime. So for criminals, they'll make a criminal, which you think that's fine. Who gives a fuck? They're criminals. They're pieces of shit. They're like the bottom of society. They deserve to be slaves because they're criminals. So let me just make sure you keep that thought process, because what happened is after they, let all the slaves go, they freed the slaves or whatever, there was a whole bunch of black people that were just kind of standing around. They didn't really have any place to go or a place to be or a thing to do. They didn't own property. They didn't have a job. So They didn't have a place to sleep at night, so they would just like kind of stand around and chill. So guess what they did? They invented a crime called loitering. So whenever you're loitering, which is literally just standing around, minding your own fucking business, standing in a place, all of a sudden that's criminal. Now that's criminal. So you can make that criminal a slave again. So all the black people that were just standing around, that didn't have jobs and didn't have a place to go, didn't have a place to sleep, they just made them all criminals again by saying that they're loiterers. That's exactly what they've done repeatedly. They did it with fucking vagrancy. They've done it with drugs. They've done it with pants sagging. I think it was in North Carolina or South Carolina. They passed a law stating that you're not allowed to show your underwear. And if you do show your underwear at all, then cops have the right to stop you and ask for your ID and do all this other shit to you and search you. Everything. Like a whole... Who the fuck is that attacking? Who is that targeting? You think it's targeting the people that sag their pants a lot? Stop and frisk laws. That was used illegally, or, well, I wouldn't even say illegally. They just fucking used it as a way to be racist. They saw a Hispanic person, they saw a black person, they would go up to them and stop and frisk them. And whether they did something or didn't do anything, doesn't matter. If they saw him for the 20th time, they would still stop that motherfucker and frisk him again. Which is unconstitutional. All of this shit's unconstitutional. I want you to understand that. The broken windows theory that they fucking have done. Broken windows policing. I'm telling you, dude, they do this shit purposefully to make sure that they can continue slavery. Because slavery was never stopped in America. We just changed who the owners were. So the owners of the slaves are now governments. The actual government, whether it's state, federal, local, doesn't matter. City, fucking county. The government owns the slaves. And then they pimp out the slaves to Walmart, AT&T, Victoria's Secret, McDonald's, Whole Foods. That's just 5. I asked for 5 examples and I got 5 examples. I'm pretty sure you could ask for 100 and they would give you 100. These corporations have benefited off of slave labor. They currently, right now in America, benefit of slave labor. We never abolished slavery in America. Every time a cop is putting a person in jail and that person is duly convicted of a crime, they're now a slave. Why do you think that the majority of, or the disproportionality of people that are in prison are black? Because this is still a racist system. Okay, I argue about systemic racism and interpersonal racism all the time because people get those two things very, very confused. And we've done a lot to fix systemic racism in America as well. But the one place that we haven't, because it's still codified into the fucking Constitution and hasn't actually been fixed or amended yet, is slavery. Straight up fucking slavery. Still fucking exist all day, every day. Every single time a cop arrests a person and that person gets duly convicted of a crime, they are now subject to be a slave. So just understand that. Aside from that, there's more slaves in the world today than there ever has been in the history of the world. More alive today than ever before. So if you really hate slavery and you really want to fight against slavery, you can do that right now. Actively. You just don't, because you don't even realize it's happening still. But it is. Almost all of Dubai has been built on slave labor. Look it up. It's pretty fucking easy to find out. Anyways, Unicor, that's another fucking person or another business that benefits off slave labor. Like, they're the ones that actually contract the slaves to the companies to work for them. So just understand all of this. Okay? The other thing that I would want to talk about is, I don't know if you remember who President Richard Nixon is, but one of his aides, or whoever he was at the time, I'm pretty sure it was one of his aides, straight up said that they couldn't arrest people for protesting the Vietnam War because we have freedom of speech in America, right? So instead, they made pot illegal and started the war on drugs so that they can go after and criminalize every single person who does drugs, because their thought process was, oh, the people who are protesting my war, they all seem to smoke weed. So I'm going to legalize pot, and I'm going to make sure that we go after and arrest everybody for pot now. And that's exactly what they did. The same thing with the crack. They literally made sentencing for crack 10 times worse than white powder because black people were known to do crack while white people were known to do the powder version. It's all written into the system, man. I talk a lot about systemic and interpersonal racism. And this is a perfect example of systemic racism. We've done a great job in America of eliminating actual fucking systemic racism, but this is one where we haven't even fucking touched it. We haven't even tried to touch it because it's written into the fucking law, except as a punishment. So, yes, they started off as slave patrols. Yes, they started as slave catchers. I don't think it ever ended. I think today, in 2024, cops are still slave catchers and still fucking slave patrols. That's what they do. So, if you want to argue with me, awesome. Do it down in the fucking comments. I will gladly take on this argument and die on this hill. But, yeah. The position of being a cop isn't something you should be proud of, in my opinion. And again, if 2 bad cops exist and 100 of them see them be bad cops and do nothing about it, then you have 102 bad cops. They say that, there's just a few bad apples, but they never finish that sentence. The finished sentence is a few rotten apples spoils the whole bunch. So it's a great analogy that they use, but they just forget the rest of the analogy. So anyways, have a good one. I really appreciate you listening. If you
After I came across this particular video, the way this white cops was blogging, saying the way they trick people every morning going to work, the way when they see it's black people, the way they penalize them. After this, police, a lot of people came after him. He tried to explain, I'm not racist. I've never been like that. Those who knows me. But when you try to hear him very well, how white people came out to correct him, saying there is no any way in this America slavery has been banned. We are still seeing it practicing in a hidden way, because most of you cops, the way you are doing, it is sure that you still have those laws and law they've been using during slavery. When the cops were there to patrol slaves here and there to catch them, and you are still here whenever you see black people, you look at crimes on them, you lie to them, you accuse of something they have never done. When you are doing something like this, it's also same like those back days during slavery. What is the difference? When you try to see how this time around, these white people, they are trying to educate themselves about their history, it is something I think a lot of people need to know. People need to know more about black history, because without the black history, there is no America. There is no America without black history, because if there is no black history, there is no past, there is no present, there is no future for America. Because when you want to describe America, you should always start on black history, because these black people, those are the ones who build this nation. Those are the ones who create each and everything, who invented each and everything we are seeing nowadays. Without them, we couldn't see this America. Each and everyone will say, great America, a hand of honey and moon, a land of opportunities. When you reach there, each and everything will work for you. Without this black Americans, each and everyone will see their uses, their trash, their nothing. Without them, without their ancestors, without their great forefathers of them, we couldn't see what is this America you are trying to go in. No wonder sometimes when I see some people trying to say, no, these people, they are exaggerating, they have pride because they are black Americans, each and everything in America, they want everyone to talk about them. No. When you see people talking about their history, you need to understand them. You need to feel them. When you are ignorant of history, there is a lot of things in life you will not manage to handle, because you have that level of ignorance. If someone has told you, don't do this, don't do that, don't go there, don't go there, you need to ask why. What is the reason of this? After getting to understand it, then you may get a decision by yourself. But when you are someone always there ignoring what people are talking, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. No wonder when you see this time around these white people reading about their history, you could understand how a lot of people are still going in this group of lying history. They are keep moving in a way they don't know. When they've been there telling you, you need to fight for white supremacy, you need to do this, you need to do this to have that white privilege. You have seen a lot of people has been living with a lie. A lot of people has been doing something they don't know. Till date, you have seen some white people, they are trying to say, it's been for so long I see my community saying about white privilege, but in my life, I've never profit or getting anything from white privilege. I'm used to struggle myself. I'm used to do my things myself. I'm used to struggle to take my kids to school. Where is that white privilege? Why people they keep saying about something like this? Now you see, some people they are trying to say white supremacy. White supremacy. I would rather be choose to be poor than losing white supremacy. When we are talking about rent, do you think that white supremacy is going to rent a house for you? When we are talking about this new administration, you are seeing what is really happening. Go and ask them that you need that white supremacy to protect you. Go and tell them that you lose your work and you need to be prioritized because of white supremacists. Go and ask them. For them this time around, you have seen they don't care about anything. They are don't even ready to understand anyone. And you've been there living in those lies saying, when we bring our people back in the office, we are going to make this small minority suffer, passing through hell and the pain. We don't care. Now, this time around, see what is really happening. See what is really happening. When you try to see these white people trying to explain about white history, how each and everything happened in America, how each and everything started, how this police cops brutality started in a white America during slavery, during Jim Crow, it is something people need to understand. What is still happening in America? It's because most of people are ignorant. They don't want to hear anything about black history. They don't want to hear even what black people are telling them or what they has been telling them. No wonder we are keep seeing this racism getting expensive in America. No wonder we are keep seeing these white people. Some of them are passing through a lot, especially on this new administration. They are now starting to feel what black people has been telling them. If you are there as a corpse, you are blagging, like you have seen that video. That white man in his old age was trying to say what they've been doing when he was a firefighter. The way they used to harm black people, the way they used not to go and rescue them in a time of emergency. They will go there when the house is under fire. They don't want to rescue them until they are finished inside those houses. You have seen there is a lot of people till date who have committed a lot of crimes in America. They need to stop each and everything. You need at least to come out and ask forgiveness. If you keep being like this, and I don't know your end, I don't know what you are taking your family, your generation, because you are bringing a curse on them in a way you don't know. If we are seeing some white people have that knowledge, have that patience to teach white history, why can't you at least have that small minutes to understand, to get to know each and everything? Why can't you even sit down and ask yourself why black people, they always complain? Why they always talk about their history? What really happened to them? Why they can't keep quiet? When you see someone who don't want to keep quiet, it means there is something deeper more than you know. And he was just there saying, why these people, they have Juneteenth? Why these people, they have Black Month? Why these people here and there, here and there? Imagine. And you are just saying me, I'll be just there. White supremacy will always protect me. Will always be there for me. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I think people need to change. People need to do better because this time around things are no longer the same. When you see few of white people coming out to expose all these things, this is something really good people need to learn from. When you see your neighbor coming out to say what you are doing to these black people is not good, you need to change, you need to understand that this time around, a lot of people are starting to feel what black people has been passing through, what black people has been talking about. Guys, let me know what you think about today's episode. Drop your opinion in the comment section. Thank you. See you in my next episode. Bye.